everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our talk. Ashley, one of the co-founders of Momentum. I'm really excited to be joined by another Ashley from Contentful, one of our customers. When the SaaSTR team asked us to come and do a presentation for the AI school, we talked about having a customer come with us because I think it's really important to show real results, especially, of course, as a vendor. You can hear me talk all day long about how you could use a tool like Momentum, but I think it's very powerful to hear from somebody in the field, in RevOps, and talking about how this is actually being applied. So hopefully this is a useful talk for bringing some of these ideas back to your organization. So why do we exist? I think we all know that our teams, our sales teams, our CS folks are on calls all day long. And we're capturing those calls in 2025. They're sitting in a call library somewhere. Some of our customers have all of those transcripts sitting in an S3 bucket. We don't have a problem of data collection anymore. We've all accepted that calls should be recorded. We've accepted that go-to-market data should be captured. The challenge is that the CRMs were not built to capture that data. What have we been doing this whole time? We ask humans to be the conduit of the data that's being shared between the prospect and your team. So what does that look like in practice? Tons and tons of validation rules, us all being frustrated that we don't have any data in the CRM, our CS team and our leaders not knowing when churn is going to happen. And it's because we are just moving into a different world that needs different technology and different systems to help us leverage everything that's being captured. So when you think about how this is going to look in the next 3 to 5 years, if we all believe, which I think we do because we're here, that AI agents will be running a lot of our day-to-day work, AI agents need data. 70% of AI projects fail because of lack of quality data. So we really need to think about this as a data problem that needs to be fixed for a data-driven future that is being run by agents. And so kind of the before world is human execution of the CRM fields. And what do we get from that? It's usually empty. Today, we have agents that are running workflows. We have Agentforce. We have tons and tons of kind of agent platforms. But again, the underlying data structure is missing. So we believe that those who have a go-to-market data foundation will really be able to move ahead of their competitors as we go into this next year and beyond. So if you think about a tool like Momentum, we really are AI native go-to-market infrastructure. Of course, you could use us for, capturing calls, a call library, writing notes, updating fields. But underlying all of that is capturing all of the data that's flowing through your business, whether that's a Zoom call, maybe it's a dial pad call with your SDRs, it's an email being exchanged, it's a support ticket, it's a chat. All of that needs to be captured because all of that is actionable go-to-market data that your teams could be leveraging. It needs to come into a system and be structured and cleaned up. In all of those conversations, the first 5 minutes of any call is some nice chit chat, but that's not really useful to your business. So we need to kind of make sure that that all gets filtered out and we're only focusing on the relevant parts of the conversation. Then you need to make sure that there are signals and actions that your team can take. So if your customer is getting on and saying, hey, I'm unhappy, I did not get the support that I needed, you should be able to take action on that the moment that you hear about it. In the old world, you're waiting for your CSM to update your team in a meeting that maybe makes it to a manager, that ultimately makes it to leadership, usually when it's too late. Now we're able to drive the signals the moment that the customer is saying it or the prospect, because we're in the conversation and we're there at the moment that those things are being said. The final thing is that whether you want to build your own agents, use a platform like Momentum, again, you need to be able to have the underlying data that will then power your agents to do the work for you. And really the ultimate goal here is to just replace so much of the manual work that we are expecting our teams to be doing. So what's possible when it comes to AI RevOps? Today, we think that fixing the CRM is just ground stakes. We should all be doing that and accepting that. In the last 2 years, we've been working with companies to help them fill in their Salesforce automatically. And whereas 2 years ago, we had to kind of convince companies to start with confirm to write, make sure that they accept the values, make sure that the reps have say. more and more companies are coming in and saying, after a short period of trial and error, I want to just do this on autopilot. I don't want to have my reps involved at all anymore on data collection. I just want to push the data into the CRM, whether that's a MedPick, updating MedPick, maybe it's capturing a next step after every call, notes after CS calls, AE to CSM handoffs. It's pretty limitless in what you could do. From there, once you have data in the CRM, then you actually can start to have a real pulse on your business because it's based on what is actually being said in the conversations. You can take a lot more action quickly and get a better handle on what is going on across your go-to-market team. From there, you can move into coaching and improvement. I think that we're moving away from a world of coaching on a per-call basis where your manager carves out an hour a week to go through calls and, on 2x speed and leave comments. You can actually do AI-driven coaching that coaches after every call, scores against competencies that you care about, and do this at scale so you can really see the trends. And then finally, what does all this mean for the business? All of this needs to bubble up really into aggregation. So you need to be able to aggregate the data across all of the data sources, across the teams, and across time. So if you think about that, you basically could start to run a close loss report for the last quarter that before would take you hiring an agency, a consultancy. It would take them 90 days, interview a bunch of your teams, and really they're just sampling your data. They're maybe sampling 15 opportunities. They're talking to 15 customers. Now you can do this across your whole pipeline. You can do this across every deal that you closed, won, or closed lost. And you can get insights that you can bring back to your C-suite, your founders, your CEO, and make real business decisions. So I'm excited to introduce Ashley to kind of talk about what they've actually been able to do at Contentful at scale and in real life practice. So I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Fred. So Ashley Blackwell-Guerra, I work for Contentful. We're a digital experience platform, about 900 people. I'm going to talk today a lot about our 400-person field organization, but we're powering digital experiences for the Gucci's of the world, the IKEA, Home Depot. But I'm going to go ahead and start with what I think is the money slide here. What is the impact we've had with Momentum since we launched in May? What we're seeing is on a per rep basis for opportunities, we're saving about 2 to 3 hours of time for them in their week. And so when we consider the fact that Momentum is touching everything from our BDR to our post-sales team, that is going to equate to tens of thousands of hours that they are no longer spending on heavy admin tasks, but freed up to be more present in their customer conversations or internally as we strategize about how to move our deals forward. We've also seen positive impact in the way that we move through all of our different opportunity stages. And in fact, we're seeing a reduction in days per stage, and we're seeing our rep productivity on an ACV level up 25% year over year. In addition to launching Momentum in May, we also decided as a company to switch our selling framework in September to MedPick. So having a tool and a system like Momentum as a rallying point has bolstered our ability to now speak a common language across a global sales team, but also just have all of our systems in place to support that transition. So our adoption is up, and I think you see that in the numbers. Ashley alluded to the fact that data before the Momentums of the world, you relied heavily on your AEs or your CSMs to enter in information about opportunities or accounts in between calls at the end of their day before their forecast. We have adopted the automatic sync to Salesforce, and that has greatly improved not only the context and the richness of the data inside of Salesforce, but also the immediacy of that data's availability, which helps me in operations send information to the right people at the right time to make business decisions. And then finally, bringing a lot of these insights to our frontline ICs and managers and up into the altitude all the way to our C-level has really improved our ability to coach and speak that common language that everybody is familiar with, and then bring insights to other orgs. So we started to focus on our field org, and week over week, different orgs, be it marketing or product or partnership, I get a Slack that says, hey, I've heard about what you're doing with Momentum. I'd love to speak with you about a couple different use cases. And so now I'm going to go ahead and back you into how we got to some of these impact metrics. So the initial use cases that we started with, and by the way, this time last year, Contentful wasn't doing anything with AI. So all to say, with a great partner like Momentum, you can very easily go from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2 in a short amount of time. But we really wanted to take the burden off of ICs and managers in terms of that manual data entry. And when we looked at the required fields within Salesforce, going all the way from consideration, where a BDR first starts to talk to our prospects and customers, all the way through procurement, there were 60 fields that we were asking them to fill out and maintain through that opportunity lifecycle, which is a pretty big admin burden when we really want them to just show up and have great conversations with their customers and not also be thinking about the next question or taking notes during the same time. So that was a business challenge we were hoping to solve. Second to that was bringing managerial insights and coaching to those frontline managers and ICs. If there are managers in the crowd, you know that it's nearly impossible to be on every single call with all of your reps. And so having something that brings insights into Slack or insights into Salesforce makes your job easier at scale. And our current, or prior to Momentum, we were using Chorus exclusively. And what we saw was we had over 6,500 customer-facing calls. And Chorus offers what are called scorecards as their mechanism for coaching. And we completed 7 last year. We also looked at manager engagement, and of those 6,500 calls, less than 500 were actually actively reviewed by their managers. So when we talked to them, we realized really quickly the technology we were offering wasn't serving, and ultimately wasn't serving our field ICs in getting better. And then finally, we knew that we had a wealth of information within Chorus and our legacy customer information. And so we challenged ourselves to say, how do we dig deep and identify which of those insights are valuable? How do we make those trigger-based? How do we figure out who needs them and when to send them? So those are our initial use cases. I like this next slide thinking about where Momentum fits. And so I'm going to spend a second here, but what you see across the top are all of our opportunity stages from a very initial deal, even before an opportunity is created by our BDRs, all the way through our post-sales process. And underneath that, we have a Momentum program that is automatically running per role, per stage of the customer journey. I will dig into a few of them, but as we sort of go left to right, getting insights into how our BDRs are positioning for coaching there, and also the transition to the AE. Also, how we capture information in our custom MedPick app that I'll show in a second, how deal rooms and the concept of how we work together in Slack comes together, and how that transitions when we close an opportunity into an account room, where we bring in all of that pre-sales information now to an account room. We bring in our post-sales folks, and it really improves the experience internally, but ultimately it means we show up to that first conversation with our new customer ready to go. And then there are other sort of ancillary benefits. We can start to send signals around churn. We just launched a brand new top 100 program where our ELT members now have visibility that they've never had before. And at the bottom, you'll see examples of product and marketing signals that happen throughout that customer lifecycle. And we're just getting started, but I could see by the end of next year, hundreds, if not thousands of different signals, because people want very specific information to do their job at a specific time. But just to call back to the last slide where I mentioned we had 60 required fields that we were asking folks to fill out. We now have 42 of those 60 fields automatically populated by Momentum. So you can imagine the efficiency gains and how happy our reps are to no longer have to do that manual data entry. Some current use cases and a little bit of a deep dive. What you see here is the in Slack experience, and you see some of that collaboration early. Amy on our enablement team is talking to Barry, who is one of our regional sales directors, giving him some insights into what she saw happen on a customer call. And what Barry is doing is he's leveraging the Momentum app in Slack. And he very bravely, right when we launched MedPick in September, was asking Momentum to look at a call transcript and figure out insights based on the MedPick acronyms. So this is insight that he would have had to have actually gone through Chorus, looked at the call, gone through probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes of information, when in reality, he's able to ask a question, and Momentum is able to query back to our selling framework and give him answers. So the MedPick app in Salesforce, what you can see is this is custom built. It lives on our opportunity object. And behind every single call, we are looking on a 0 to 3 basis across those MedPick acronym letters. And we've defined what really good looks like as a 3 all the way down to 1 or to 0, which probably means we didn't capture anything around metrics or economic buyer. And so that's firing behind the scenes constantly. And this is what it looks like when a rep clicks into the MedPick app. On the far left, you can see the MedPick acronym letters. You can see the context that Momentum has found for a given call around those letters. The next column over, you see the 0 to 3 score that Momentum has given that particular context, and also the rationale why. And then on the far right, we have an editable dropdown that's available to our AEs and to our RSDs, where they can review what's there, and if they don't agree with it, all of these fields are editable. So they can go in and add context that might be missing, and then in the background, it will rescore. That's all important because we are starting to bring the Momentum score and the AE score into our forecasting tool. So when I talk about Momentum at different altitudes, our SVP of EMEA, our CRO are on these weekly global forecasting calls, and it gives them a glance of an insight of how far along we are with MedPick, and also why there might be a delta between what their AEs are seeing and what Momentum has said. So in a very easy way, they can then ask better questions in that forecast call around the common MedPick language. And if they need to, set up a deal review where they can go in depth to the opportunity and figure out where our gaps are. The what we heard slide is, again, powered by Momentum. The end output is a slide that our sales team uses, and it's fueled by the context from calls and largely serves as an agenda slide. So it's capturing context. It gives us a nice slide output when you hit save and then generate slide. And what we're hoping is it provides a better customer experience early on in the discovery process, where we have a conversation, we're reflecting back, this is what we know about you, this is what we've heard, what are we missing? And so that is, I think, a major reason why we're starting to see an acceleration through our stages, but also helps us to show up better in front of our customers. I mentioned signals. I've got 2 examples here. And so anytime that a specific trigger or theme happens, that's a good use case for a signal. The first of which, up at the top, is one that our CMO came to me and her marketing team came to me and said, hey, we just spent a ton of time and money producing an article with The Atlantic. I want to understand how often we're talking about this article. I want to understand how the AE is positioning this article, and I want to understand the sentiment from the customer. And so that gets sent to her and her team via Slack in real time. And then the bottom example is out of our SE organization, but it's a capacity example. So beyond just our sales engineering team, which is smaller, where they need to understand how to adequately staff those SEs on deals, professional services likes this a lot. I think that there are probably other capacity-related use cases, but basically, Jonathan is his name. He's our SE manager. He needs to know for later stage opportunities how qualified they are and get caught up to speed with whatever the context is so that he can adequately resource the solution consultant for a lot of our enterprise customers. So that's pretty neat with what he's doing there. Future use cases. Momentum Coach. I really like this, number one, because it bolsters what we want to do with frontline managers and coaches, because after every single call, it's going to filter up recommendations and next steps around competency models. So separate from MedPick, we've got enablement programs that help us position against competitors, how to do great objection handling, how for a brand new AE to Contentful to understand MedPick. And so this is a really, really promising tool to help get them even better tactical insights to then go execute, have better one-on-ones, have better team calls. And then the enablement team, I think that this is their secret weapon, because if you get all of that information in aggregate, you start to understand, hey, these programs and these competencies that your team is spending time on, where you're training in person, how are ICs doing against those? How are pods or region or globally, how are you doing? And so you get very, very in-depth information into maybe there's a program that's not working as well in EMEA as it is in North America, or maybe we're identifying an entire gap where we don't have a program where we want to go next. So I'm super excited about Momentum Coach. I mentioned our executive team is now getting more and more sticky with Momentum. We out of the gate started our focus on opportunities. We're now shifting more towards post-sales and accounts. And so all of our ELT has some number of sponsorships within this top 100 program. And so anytime there is a call, pre-sales call, QBR, you name it, this channel in Slack gets pinged. They are notified. And so at a glance, they have the opportunity to understand what's happening on a call, but also dig in and ask questions and follow-ups. Like if our CMO knows that she's meeting with IKEA later in the week, she's going to want to understand, what is the context? What's the overall relationship? What are we doing? What are they saying about our product? So she's better prepared. And then a huge focus for us too is the shift towards bringing account level summaries. So not on an opportunity by opportunity basis, but what's the whole context of the customer relationship to date? And how do we bring those insights, be it feedback that they might have or churn risk quotes that they might have had, all the way up to the executive summary. Who are we dealing with? What do they care about? Why did they initially buy Contentful? And bringing that into Salesforce at the account level. And then finally, to bring this home, every company that I have ever worked with has the internal problem of the AE to post-sales handoff. And so this is an example of what you can do both in Slack, and then I'll show a Salesforce example. But at the point that an opportunity close wins and we change over from a deal room to what we call an account room, we are able to build prompts and bring in the relevant context for those post-sales people so that they feel like not only can they collaborate and ask questions of their pre-sales counterparts, but they have a whole bunch of information at their fingertips that they can also self-serve and ask questions. So we're showing up better in front of our customers. So this is a Slack experience. And then this is ultimately what this will look like for us at the account view. And this will continue to update itself after every single customer call. So, we're not overwriting information, we are appending information, but it just becomes instantly easier for new folks who are inheriting new books of business, the internal, handoff process, our ELT who has to get up to speed really quickly on what the outlook of the customer looks like. But with that, I just want to say, if you are a RevOps person in the audience and you are looking for a way to take your company from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2 in less than a year, this is the vendor to do it. I think these use cases make a ton of sense. I think for the most part, everybody feels similar pains to what I've described here. And I'm so grateful for the partnership and the support that the Momentum team has given us. And we're just getting started. So I'll turn that back over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think to kind of wrap up, I wanted to share that we do have a booth. And so Ashley is going to be around today if you want to see a demo from us or dive into more things from her team and go a little bit deeper. We'll both be around today, so happy to answer any questions. I also wanted to plug our book, not to just plug the book for book's sake, but we wrote a book recently about applying AI to your go-to-market strategy. And the impetus for the book was we just got a lot of questions from folks in our network and our customers saying, hey, I'm getting started with Momentum, but what else should I be doing? What else should I be doing for my top of funnel? What should I be doing for CS? What are other ways that I could leverage AI? And we realized that we didn't really have a great answer for that because we're kind of in our little world. And so we interviewed about 30 folks from amazing companies, from 11 Labs to Owner to Demandbase. And we asked them, what are you doing? What are you excited about? What's not working? What's working? And we turned it into a book. So there's 13 chapters. It covers everything from forecasting to coaching to top of funnel to compliance and security use cases. So we'll have a couple of books at the booth. First come, first serve. Happy to give those away. And if anyone's interested, you can buy it on Amazon or you can just come talk to me and I'll make sure you get a copy as a SaaSTR friend. But I think we probably have time for maybe one question. And then if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to see you at the booth.
So, brave soul. It's more an observation question. in customer view or deal.
Yeah.
It's great to see that great into your now it's got this to the integrating within the application that like see that page that low budget
Yeah.
see
Was there a question or is it?
Yeah, I think, we would love to
didn't
show
hear.
it to you. I
Yeah.
think you should come by the booth and we'll happy to give you kind of a full
Yeah.
demo of what
I'll
they've
pull out
built
my
and what we
laptop. You
have.
can see it in real
So-
time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.